Kira Abann,
Kira Ehsan,
how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. What about you?
I'm very good, and I'm really excited to talk about this book, Beyond Refuge.
Me too.
I just finished reading the whole book, and then I realized that it's including 12 stories from people with a refugee experience. And one of the stories is you, and which is really interesting and insightful. But before we talk about the story itself, I really wanted to know about what made you to initiate this project, and what was your role in this project, Beyond Refuge?
Thank you for the easy question, but not easy answer. The initial ideas of publishing this book has come after 10 years of working in a resettlement space, dealing with communities issues, and also dealing with government agencies, dealing with NGOs, and also dealing with institutions. So what come is that is repeatedly we just repeating ourselves about our story, where we come from, and why we are here. And also one of the area that really struck my attention to is just the media, because I've been sharing my story over and over again, and I find out that the tune or the meaning of the story is not exactly what I have intended to share with the New Zealand public. It's always done differently. So from that point, I was able to have opportunity within ARCC when I've been elected as chair of ARCC, and now I have the opportunity to work in the office 2 days a week. During in that, I engage with community members who are coming through and to support them with the resettlement process. And I noticed that sharing my story with them, it gives them the opportunity to open up, and then knowing who they are as well, and making sure that they overcome their challenges. So from that, I've been able to get to reach more out, to share the ideas about. Now I have my stories. I share it with people because there is an element within ARCC with the understanding that it's not easy for anyone in the community to come along and share their stories. So I use my stories as a role model on that, and showing them, if I do this, you can do that as well. So from that moment, this is where the initial ideas come about. So my role was in the project. We have 5 team. So I was directing the project and managing all the aspect of it. I have 2 volunteers, and also one is a photographer, and also
Nando,
the editor. Yes. My favorite man.
My friend. But you mentioned the media, and then how, when you tell your stories to the normal media or mass media, you basically get to have a distorted kind of stories. That's why you initiated this project. But so is this the common thing that the community experienced, to share their stories and not being happy about the final outcome? Or for example, I know a couple of a few of my friends from the community getting back to me is that I told their story, but they cut out those important part that I thought is important, but they focus on things that to me are not at all important. So was it the basically the gap, or something more to it?
I think it's not just only a gap. There is something called, I think we know about it, in terms of ideology or mental model, something behind what people are saying. For me, it was a solution, providing the solution with what is happening, because my work actually driven by providing solution. If I find a problem, I will try to find a way how to solve it. So when I find there is a gap within that, how our story has been shared in a public demand, I come to realize disinformation and misinterpretation is just in a long term affecting our community. But before I started was anyone else, I need to start with myself.
Definitely.
This is how the thing is start. And then I start awareing the community in the element of my role as an educator to aware them what is really important for them to tell their story in their own tune, in their own perspective. Because when it's being told by third party or outsider, the perspective or the narrative of the story change totally. So this is one of the motive behind just sharing this. But with the media, because we can't just fix what other people does for us. It's like a saying about some people, you can't control them, but the only thing you will be able to do is just how you will deal with it. And dealing with it is just providing the solution that we can share our story in our own way, where the people get to understand us. And not only that, but from my own perspective as well, like this is my responsibility to share my story in a way of introducing myself and the rest of the community to New Zealand society in order for them to get to know us who we are, not what they hear from other people. So this is a flavor adding to how this Beyond Refuge has been published.
True, because like as a community also it is part of our responsibility to send stories out, you know, and then I think the number of these stories is really important because like we need to keep producing these stories because it's just not just one-off project. It needs to be ongoing because we always get to hear about all sort of people, you know, in the country, but not about like people from a refugee background, you know, or we cannot generalize even like people with a refugee background because they are coming with all sort of cultures, all sort of are different. They are from different countries and they have different qualification. They have different background and work experience, you know. So, and then when people start to realize that it's not just one type of person, they stop probably labeling like people as this guy was refugee, you know, because like you think that it's a kind of person, you know, and that act somehow and then in a certain way, but which is far beyond true, right? What they may have in common is a way of travel or some of the journey in between, but before this refugee journey and after, everyone goes to different directions, which is really important. But one stuck with me the foreword of the book, and which I'm going to read it now. It says, it's not an easy time to be a migrant or a refugee background in our country because everyone has an opinion about you and whether you belong here or not. So can you please elaborate more on this part, is that everyone has an opinion, or maybe can you give me some personal experience on like when you realize that people already established their mind before you even start talking?
Just to reflect on your quotation from Dame Susan DeVoy, a former race relation commissioner. Mm-hmm. I think Dame Susan, she have a good heart supporting our community. At the time, because she race relation, she know very well the racism and discrimination our community are facing. And one of the important part of that quotation is that I want to share with our community members who are really, they're still in a position of recovering from their journey and also to discover the offer of New Zealand. Belonging is not someone from our side will tell him you belong here or not. It's belonging is about you as a person and how you feel. It's not about other people telling you belong or not. So belonging is a personal. Belonging is about your feeling, you are feeling or not. So it's a personal homework where you will be able to pursue your belonging or not. So within that, what she related to myself, when I arrived here, I faced a lot of problems. And the problem I face is that from the beginning is about my name is different, my skin color is different, the way I look is different, might be scary. and people
You just talk.
yes. And people are really not all New Zealanders, and being honest, what's in the system is I find a lot of challenges, but the beauty of it is that turning those challenges to opportunities, because what is happening is that the more you have possibility in your own thinking as an individual, that give you the opportunity to see the opportunity in front of you. So those challenges, from my own experience, is that always the challenge, the struggle or hardship, I turn them to positive. Not to work for anyone else, is work for me, because I can't control what the other people say about me. I can't control what the other people just trying to influence the thing that I can't do by myself. So in that aspect, it gives me opportunity as well to be resilient in my own, pursuing what I want to do. And the most important, I knew what I want to do, and I knew who I am, and I knew what I want to do. So that helped me to overcome all those stuff, because in life there is a lot of distractions. And those kind of distraction is just being a foreigner within a society where you see there is a tolerance there, because negativity, the more you think negative, the more negative outcome. But for me, I think always positive, regardless to all the challenge I've been through. And that's what I share with the community by saying, it's okay. Give yourself opportunity, because the most important element is that within a New Zealand context, there are a good Kiwis outside there. Even the way we are today, it's without them, we should not be the way we are, because those are the things that people who understand us, they help us a long way. And for our community members who are listening to Beyond Refuge book discussion, is that try your best. There are good Kiwis outside there, and New Zealand is the best country ever you might dream to live in. And that is the thing I always relate myself, being indigenous in my own. We are lucky to be in this country. The reason, because there is some of the values, tangata whenua, they use manakitanga, the hospitality New Zealand offered to all migrants, regardless to where we come from. The only thing is just make sure you know what you're trying to pursue in New Zealand, and that would make a difference.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then like sharing these stories also help us to get connected,
Yes.
like deeply, and then and help people, as you said, that belonging is what I get is that it's inner feeling. And then again, and also you mentioned that writing your story, it can also help you to recover from those past traumas. So we get to realize that the importance of producing those stories and sharing their stories, which is really important for both helping ourselves and to getting other people to know us. And as a big community, as a really diverse kind of community. But before we go forward, I think let's have a break and a glass of water and a little bit walk, maybe food, I don't know. But we get back soon. Welcome back, Abann.
Thank you, Ehsan.
Your energy is still up, or you feel sleepy? It's around noon.
Up to the task.
Okay, so I don't want to get you tired, but so the introduction of the book talks about probably one of the common gaps that the community face, and one of this kind of, I don't know if it's a gap as a right choice of word, but for example, one of the gaps can be the general public understanding of refugee communities and refugee background people. And part of it is that it's about their contribution to the New Zealand society. So I know that there are ideas about the community that they are on benefit and thus kind of and they don't contributing at all, which to me I think it's not at all true, in a sense that the moment that they arrive, they some people are good with English, they start seeking immediately jobs, and some people start learning English and then start to contributing. So for example, in this book it says they are from all professional fields, which includes accountant, managers, engineers, community leaders, social workers, and students, and etc. So can you share your experience on this and on their contribution? What do you think?
When we talk about contribution, I think there is evidence of those 12 stories. Each and every one of them has been in New Zealand for many years. And if you see them looking at their progress from the time they arrive here and what they do at the moment within a New Zealand society, first of all, the title you read out, accountant, managers, I'm not going far. I might start from myself. First of all, I can repeat myself, is that resettlement program wasn't in New Zealand context. People need to see it in a bigger picture. Okay, not just what they hear from radio, from news, from TV, from media. Let give you an example of refugees resettlement program wasn't in New Zealand. Okay, if we talk about Mangere Resettlement Center, how many people being employed in that particular programs? Look at it. Look in the sense of how many New Zealanders have job opportunity in that program. It starts from politician to official. And also in the resettlement center, how many people are working there? If it's not contributing to New Zealand society. And then afterward, when they come out, what's in the country or the culture we come from? They bring culture with them, they bring language with them, they bring experience with them. And this is where also I can quote UNHCR, which is an international community who are responsible to support those people and refer them to a right country where they can have a second chance in life to have a country they call home. So when they arrive here, New Zealand accept them as a permanent resident, and they're New Zealand citizen after 5 years. So their contribution, I think, for those who've been before, there is a lot of a highlight of refugees' background being in New Zealand, what they have contributed. So in terms of contribution, I think our audience, they need to look at, just in the context of this book, what are those 12 stories, each and every individual, what they contributed to New Zealand society. In terms of the culture or economic or political as well aspect of it, we are contributors. And saying that we are contributors, we are asset to this country, which is we love. And also we're not just liability to those who think that we are liability to New Zealand society.
Yeah, as you said, that it's actually sort of a really important note to say that the contribution is not only about the career that they have or expertise or education that they bring to this country. It's more than that. It's their culture and their food and their kind of different connections, which is really important when you think about it. And also, like, to me, I realized that because, for example, I myself coming from different part of the world, is that I see things differently and I try to approach different problems in a different ways that no one think of, because it's the way that I grew up in a certain culture. You know, you may say it that I may say that this is a normal way of thinking in Iran, you know, but no one think about it here. Well, and it can be the other way also too. There's some issues that I always struggle with, and I said that there's another person from different part of the world see some advantage in that even issues and try to, you know, flip it around and take advantage of it. So these are kind of knowledge that we can share by just why I don't want to say that like changing the perspective, because I always said that if I learn from Abann, it just adds to my perspective. When I needed that, and said, oh, I can see that from this perspective too. It's not just, no, I need to lose myself to become another person. It's different than like, no, I have now 2, 3, I have 4 different kind of understanding of this phenomena or issue, which is really important.
Let me share with you this. It might be a surprise for you. This is something New Zealand they're missing out. One of the values new residents and have within in New Zealand, we value education more than anyone else. And the majority of our children or ourselves, we re-educate ourselves in New Zealand here. And after graduation and having qualification, New Zealand is not taking advantage of it. They're also taking it. Our whole community, they immigrated to Australia as a migrant from New Zealand and getting a good job. Okay, this is something, it might be naive saying it, but that's the truth of it. And this is what I'm saying before, is that anyone from our community, they don't want to receive something to be given in their hand. They need to work because they're hard workers. And the most important is that they're looking for opportunity. And that opportunity needs to be provided. And who's going to provide it? For example, we're trying our best to ensure that we prepare a pathway to employment opportunity. But we need more collaboration between government agencies, nationally and locally, in order for us to provide what is needed in terms of economically or culturally or socially. So those are one of the things that sometimes we think we're not getting advantage of, having those people in our show and giving them what is needed in order for them to have better resettlement within the New Zealand society.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, because this is not the thing that I read it somewhere. I can see it,
Yes.
Because you can see that your friends leaving like New Zealand for a better opportunity. Yes. And then, and this is kind of sad, because they don't want to leave actually here, but because it's so peaceful and so nice and beautiful. It's a little bit cold, like the South Island and this kind of stuff. But the reality is that it's something that it's a privilege to have, honestly. And I personally really grateful of having this opportunity to live here. But the fact is that if there is a really narrow kind of roof on top, and so it stopped me from grow, so I start probably to think about, okay, where can I go next? So this was actually a really good note, and thanks for sharing. Another part that was really important to me, I found it really interesting and to read, was that one of the things is that there are things in life that you have no control over.
Yeah.
And for example, you mentioned in this book that in the introduction, that it should be noted that refugees offshore have no choice over which country resettled them. So that's another reality that we talked about early on, that like there are kind of the realities that you don't have. For example, your race, your color of skin, your country. These are the you cannot choose your parents, Yep. So these are the things that's out of your control. But and also this lead to another paragraph that you mentioned, that because of this understanding, like normal people continue to label kind of people with a refugee.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about a little bit about this, the terminology? I know that there are lots of way of referring to this kind of, for example, you can say refugees, you can say asylum seeker, you can say that people with a refugee background, you can say that people with a refugee experience, or former refugees. So can you elaborate more on this terminology and the importance of it?
I think you're right. More elaboration about it, that from the human rights perspective. This is where I can elaborate from it. Because when we debate over the terminology of the word refugees, is that many people don't understand the stages of the resettlement, how people end up in New Zealand. I'm talking from the experience of offshore, overseas, and also I'm talking about experience 18 years within in New Zealand. So what does that mean is that if personally, being in that situation, if I need to describe the word refugees, is that it's a term, it's a temporary term to facilitate the situation of someone in a situation which is need to get help from United Nations. Because United Nations, they have mandate internationally to provide something called 3 durable solutions. If one of those solutions has been achieved, anyone in a situation of refugees, they will not be refugees any longer. Example, one of the solution is that if someone in a refugee situation, their country of origin becomes safe, and they return back to country of origin, they're not now being refugees anymore. Okay. The second one is that if the country of asylum or the country of refuge has been given individual or family a local integration, which has allowed them to settle there permanently, the word refugees no longer exist. And the third one, which is the one we have in New Zealand here, and which is resettlement. This is the last solution provided internationally. When someone did not achieve the 2, they can't return to their country of origin, they can't resettle locally in a country of asylum. Now they have the opportunity by UNHCR to resettle them in a third country. And each one of those third countries who have resettlement programs, they have criteria to settle refugees in their country. For example, within a New Zealand context, New Zealand, they have 3 criteria. If there is a referral from UNHCR, we are talking about refugees quota program right now. So if someone has been referred by UNHCR to New Zealand to resettle in New Zealand, then New Zealand have 3 criteria, and anyone need to fit those criteria. 1, woman at risk, and medical attention and disability, and the third one is just emergent cases with someone in a situation is really extremely very dangerous. So New Zealand will accept the application. So now what is happening is that the distinguish between being a refugees or having a refugee status, which has been replaced by a permanent resident of the country, allow you to resettle there. That what it means. The durable solution, the third one, which is resettlement, has been achieved. So now you are losing the status of refugees as being replaced with a permanent resident of the country you are settling in. So now the debate from our point of view is that, from the human rights perspective, is that those people who have achieved the permanent resident, they have right to be respected who they are. The country who received them need to recognize that. It's really very important, and it's a basic human right element of it. It's not just a word refugees as such, of many people misinterpreted the word refugees by using it within a New Zealand context. Is the meaning behind it. Because someone already, they passed something in their past that they never been recognized in a current situation. That is really is a human rights violation. The reason because why do you want to put people in a box of the past and you're not allowing them, in another hand, they are here, they are permanent resident, and you give them the citizenship and you start labeling them? Because the language you use is a discriminatory language. It's a stereotyping. It's a racism. And the people that are not admitting it because they don't want to take responsibility about their services. And that is the area we always never give up on it. Because that's the right of individual. Even many of them, they don't understand even their status. Within ARCC, you might find many people who've been here in New Zealand 20, 25 years old, even they don't know who they are. They don't know their status. They still call themselves refugees. And when you correct them, or when you tell them exactly who they are, they start asking themselves a question, why? Why is this? Or why we've been using this? So this is the role which is in New Zealand as a society need to look at themselves and ask ourselves, if we give people permanent resident. Why do we label them as refugees? Okay, and from the service point of view, or from the government point of view, who are developing their policies. From my point of view, this is the structure barriers. Those barriers, they've been put there for purpose. It's not coincidentally.
No,
That honestly speaking, because they know it and they know what they're doing. But the problem is because refugees is an easy target. The word refugee is an easy target. Refugees are vulnerable, and they are making them vulnerable more because they are marginalizing them.
Also, you can control the vulnerables much easier than the rest that they have, like independency. So, and also this is the actually one of the challenges when I was working on some of their stories. One of the biggest challenges actually I faced was self-stereotyping. You know, so so there is this idea, you approach some of the member of community and they ask them to share their stories, but then they exactly repeat the same story that you get to hear from like a mass media.
Yeah.
First of all, because when they see you as an outsider coming and asking you questions about their life, they think that this is the most important thing that you are looking for. So they just want to keep it short and give you whatever you want to hear. Yeah. And then, so this happened that like I had this assignment from like a media to create some stories based on some agenda, which basically was focused on vulnerability. And they were happy to share those stories with me. The project was successful, but a year after, I actually wanted to know about what if I have no agenda, and ask them, so, okay, share me your story. And I realized that they exactly repeat the same story over and over again. And this is what it is really common to say that this is self-stereotyping, because, and it took me a while to build this kind of friendship and relationship with them, with the community, for them even to start to realize that they have so many important aspects. But because you lose all your confidence, for example, because when you don't speak English, you don't say, oh, I'm not confident, so I'm nobody. You know, no, it's like you probably know 1 or 2, 3 languages, you know, just maybe you are not good at speaking English, right? But because this idea that like, yeah, you are vulnerable because you cannot speak English properly, it makes a kind of difference, you know.
And this is what makes my job enjoyable always, living in a world of a privileged mindset of majority in the system, and then the worldview of a victim mentality in our community, and trying to find a common ground to bring them together so that they can have better understanding how we can live a life of being one nation with a different or diversity background, in the sense of I look at you as a human regardless to where you come from. It's just I need to respect you in that, and that this is something is a long term of New Zealanders to start pursuing that particular. We human. And we have a period of time. No one permanently is staying here. Always we're going to leave. As we came, we're going to leave as well. But the most important question, each and everyone who need to ask themselves, what are the legacy I can be able to leave behind? It's really very important. Regardless to your background, your color, or whatever, your title or whatever, your final destination is just going in a grave.
Yeah, you cannot escape it. Yeah, this is really this is something that you cannot. No one did it. But talking about the story, actually, I really want to, because like I personally, because I shared this story with you of dealing with self-stereotyping and this kind of stuff. I really want to know about your process of creating or collecting this story, but after a break. So let's have another glass of water, and then we'll back soon.
I need to go for lunch, man.
Okay. Welcome back, Abann.
Thank you.
You still have energy?
Yes.
Yeah, because this is the really interesting kind of part of it, because I always eager to know about the process of like or the behind the scene of producing something. It's either like a backstage of the video, or like what was the method of generating this story, or the process of making it, or did you approach them by asking kind of questions or interview them, or because there are 12 participants in it, and then or just ask them to write their stories and you edited them, or what was the process?
Yeah, the process was, was very simple. What we had identified is that we set up an environment where a person can be themselves, because this is very important. So what it means, environment like what we are talking right now, so just being friendly environment. Before we contact someone, we identified who we are going to approach to share their stories. So when we identify the person that can share their story, we give them a phone call, because, as I said before, we have 2 volunteers, and we approach the people we know, because it's not easy to go to someone you don't know or you don't have a relationship with and approach them about telling their stories, because they do know they're having a negative experience with media. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the scary part of it. So one of the approaches that when we identify the person, then if they want to ask a lot of questions, is that I share my story, because it's an example there, they go and read through it. And then if they're able to write their own stories during the conversation, because there are a guidance question, but the discussion is like having a conversation. It's nothing restricted at all. It just tell your stories in the way how you want to tell. If the volunteer wrote the story, and then it will be given back to them to go through it, and then they return it to the volunteers. When it finalized from the volunteers, is that this is what the patient approve the story. Then I go through it. After when I go through it, then I will be able to give it to the editor, approve reading or editor, and then I will go through it again before the publisher. So that was the process. And what helped us, I think, the relationship already exists in the community, because we approach people we know, not people we don't know. That helped us a lot.
Yeah, I can see that, because like building a relationship, it takes a lot of time, and when you don't get to see a lot of good stories out there, you always have this fear that what will happen to me, which is right. What will happen to me if I share my story? Because by sharing your story, by speaking out, you basically make yourself again more vulnerable for others people judgment. Yeah. They are going to judge you based on what you say. You know, some people negatively, some people positively, some people are going to pity you, which you don't want, or so basically you are exposing yourself more. And then but from my personal experience was that, like, when you do it right, and then the participants itself, or the writers, or the authors, because we want them to be the authors of their work, you know. Yeah. And then when they get good feedbacks from the audience, you know, they want to tell more. So I have more stories to tell now. So this was really, really important. So you approached those people you already know and had relationship with.
One of the approach as well, which is add value to the storybook, was building the confidence of individuals. This is really, really very important. And then the second one is that it's not about you as an individual, but about your family, about your community, about your country of origin, where you come from. Because when people get to know your story in a way that you are the one who just sharing it yourself, I think that will give you the opportunity that you will be proud, because as a feedback from those already featured their stories, now publicly they are confident they can speak about anything you ask them, because that is what was the idea behind sharing their stories, and making sure New Zealand public or individual understand who we are and where we're coming from and why we come here in the first place. Because one of the challenge many people are facing is that the simple question, where are you from and why you are here, what you're going to be doing here? You come here to take our job, you come here to be in our benefit. Those are kind of it's a simple question, but behind that simple question is awareness. So people are unaware asking kind of those questions. And those stories will help them to understand why people are here in the first place. So,
yeah, I think the thing that I wanted to add is that there's nothing wrong with asking a question. The intention is really important.
yeah.
You know, some people, they ask you like a really normal question, like, you know, where are you from? There's nothing wrong about this if you have a good intention, because, you know, but some people, you know, have this like kind of ideas and say, where you know, kind of come from? And you immediately say, whoa.
This is my tricky part of engaging with people. When they start asking that question, that's it. I start engaging. This is my target audience.
Yeah.
Just ask the wrong question and I will direct you to the right place.
Okay. 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 Now I need to watch. Yeah. But because we are running out of time, so it's one of the things that I really wanted to know is that, talking about your personal story as one of the 12, is that you started from really early on, like in your life, you know, like your childhood and your parents, you know, and then your father, grandfather, and then you start sharing your journey going to Syria, and then staying there for 10 years, 8 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
And 5 years, and then the rest of the process, and then your contribution to New Zealand and to ARCC and the rest, and the community in general. But but by the end of your story, you said that you are hoping the audience to learn something from this story. What is that? What do you hope? What are you hoping for the audience to learn?
I think what I am referring to is that, giving the background of struggle and hardship, I think this is kind of the thing that no one whatever in life will be experiencing the way I experience, because being displaced in an early age, and also overcoming that, and then leaving your country and go to foreigner's country and facing a lot of human rights violation and a lot of things. One of the things I want to share is that being self-advocate, this is the most important given tool that you will be able to survive in any kind of circumstances of human being. Because for me, my experience, I will not allow anyone to victimize me, or I will not allow myself to be a victim of my own story. That is something I want to elaborate on, to let, it's not just people who've been in my shoes or my community to have this kind of a message, or also any ordinary New Zealanders. They need to learn that whatever situation happened to you happened for a reason, but up to you how you're going to deal with it. This is the most important. So the lesson I need to share with the audience is that sometimes I might be the problem of anything that might happen to me, and just trying to point fingers on other people. But the more you own your responsibility and knowing your role, it doesn't matter if it's a negative or positive, be responsible for it. Because the more you acknowledge that you know it or you don't know it, then your brain will start work something out. And one of the knowledge I want to share with our community is that don't live in denial. If you know something while you're not. Don't believe in something where you're not really aware of what that means. So that it puts you in a situation of uncertainty. So for me, I need anyone who wants to read my stories that it's not a victim's stories, but it's something everyone can learn through, because I did not know while I am growing I will end up in New Zealand one day. But the Creator know that I will end up in New Zealand, and that wasn't my choice, being in New Zealand. That is something I need to share with many people, saying I did not choose to be in New Zealand. But I'm grateful because UNHCR, they chosen New Zealand for me to come here and have a better life here. And then what is happening is that it was up to me how I will make that opportunity is happening. but the journey I've been through wasn't in New Zealand here. It might be the challengest one because I've been told this is my country or my new country, and then suddenly I face a new challenge, and I'm asking myself, what is that? What is happening really? So if I'm facing the same challenge, I left my country of origin and the country of asylum, and I'm facing it here. I don't think so. This is not a better life. So in that, it teaches me better life is not depend on someone who's going to tell you about better life. It's about you and how you're going to make your life is better. But that journey is an opportunity, and that opportunity, I call myself, I'm a privileged patient in terms of the way who I am today, because I can see my struggle, it's opportunity for me to learn a lot of things I never been told about it or I never see before. So I'm grateful that I'm in New Zealand. I'm grateful I'm contributing the way how people see it. But the way I see it, that's why you see me that even part of this book as well is important for me as a part of my responsibility to share my story to New Zealanders who get to know me, and then I get to know them. So this is my responsibility.
And also probably getting to know, because as you said, there are two approaches to the hardship. Is that like, as you said, again, we have no control over. We are not choosing that, okay, I want to go through that kind of traumatic experience. But when you find yourself, and there are said that you can have this victim mentality saying that, oh, because of that, I'm going to stay there forever. But there is another part to sharing hardship, is that you use this hardship to grow. Yeah. Because you need. I mean, I wish there was an easy way to grow, but I don't think that there is, or at least I don't know anything like, because you need to have this kind of issue to deal with and work with it, like building muscles. You need to work out.
The easy way always is taking responsibility upon yourself. That's the easy way.
Do you think it's easy? This is
because it's the opposite of easy, because nothing is in life.
Oh, true.
Yeah, nothing easy in life, and that's the bottom line. So if it's not just everything easy, it's nothing called shortcut in life.
True.
Okay?
Yeah.
If you want to be someone successful in your own definition of success, you need to determine what you want to achieve, and find a pathway how you're going to reach there. And always, as I said, no success individual can do in this world. Always success comes through other people who are supporting you when you know where you are heading.
Yeah, it's collective. Yeah.
So no shortcut.
No. Those that trying to sell us this shortcut, I think sooner or later it turns to a disaster. I think because we have this saying that easy come, easy go, right? So we have that. But thank you for sharing your story. But for the last line, where the audience can get the book, how we can provide them book if they want to, which I really highly recommend the audience to read it, and how they get.
I think for the audience to get a copy of this book from ARCC point of view is that we're using public fundraising, just $30 to donate, and then you will receive a copy of the book from ARCC, because it's not a commercial. We share those kind of giving a donation of $30 is about the print out of this book. So this is what is about. And if you want to get a copy, please be in touch with ARCC through our website, through our social media, or through direct if you're in New Zealand here, and especially in Auckland or other region of New Zealand, you will be able to reach us. Just request your copy from ARCC.
Awesome. Easy.
Easy.
There is a shortcut. just the easy shortcut is that just call ARCC. Yeah, they solved the problem for you. Okay, it was really nice chatting with you, and hope the audience also learned something from this conversation. And be back in a month again, right? Or sometime sooner, I guess. I hope. Let's see. Yeah, but for now we can only think about lunch, right?
And thank you for your time as well, being able to arrange this and make sure as well we're reaching out based on our responsibility within ARCC, is that there are people outside there that don't know what we're doing. And through this initiative, Resett TV Talk, I think we will reach more audience. And that's why we are really grateful to be here and be in this country, and also pursue more opportunity to share with the rest of other New Zealanders and the world as well.
Yeah, we get there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.